Hello, everyone, and welcome to season 2 of the Healing Loudly series. My name is Coach Paula, and for the next 5 weeks, you will hear stories of survivors who did not just overcome matters of abuse and trauma, but who managed to thrive as a result of intentional healing. These stories of overcoming are sure to encourage and to motivate. But don't just take my word for it. Tune in and listen for yourself.
Everyone, my name is Danny, and today I'll be sharing my story of how I healed from narcissistic abuse. When did I start to feel this person might be the one for me? I will probably say a few months after I met him. There was a serious charm about him, and he just always made me feel special, always made me feel like a queen. I felt like I was the center of his eye or his attention. So maybe 6 months after I met him, I would say I felt like he was the one. It was an extremely short relationship. I don't even know if we can call it a relationship now that I look back on it in hindsight. But we dated for, I want to say, about 3 months. Um, And the reason why I don't call it a relationship is because most of it was just being controlled. You know, we spent a lot of times together and things like that. There were talks of marriage and children, and it never went that far. So I would say we were probably dating for about 3 months, and I stopped answering calls and texts after 6 months. And the most recent call I actually got was in 2017. And I stopped communication in 2011. So, so the first couple of months were like sort of the knight in shining armor type vibe. I was in school, so everything I needed financially, educationally, as far as spending time together, he was always there. As far as motivating me, he was always there. Um, Basically, like anything I needed or wanted, he was able to provide. So that's why I call it like a knight in shining armor type of piece. So it started off well when we had the actual quote unquote relationship, so to speak. So when we, started dating and embarking on that journey of dating each other, that's when I started to see the red flags because it became very much involved into, okay, who are all your friends? Who are all your family members? I need to know their names. Where do they live? I don't want you spending time with them anymore. You should spend time with me. You don't need them anymore. You have me. And it just became extremely controlling and separating as far as my personal life and my relationship with him went. So there were a lot of things that he said in the beginning, as far as letting him know who all my friends were, letting him know who all my family members were, not canceling plans to be with him, to spend time with family or friends. And the biggest red flag was I had some male friends, and he wanted me to cut all communication with my male friends. And that was like a non-negotiable for him. I had to cut all communication with them. So this time I felt unsafe. There was a time where I was at a family member's house and he called me because I wasn't home, because every time he called me, he wanted me to be home or at school. And if I didn't ask him if I could go somewhere before, that was a huge argument and I would get cursed out because I always had to quote unquote ask permission in his mind. So I was at a family member's house. He called me when I was there, and he told me to get back home. So when I got back home, he came over and he was like, I don't ever want you to be somewhere without asking me for permission first. I need to know first, so on and so forth. And I sort of got firm and put my foot down and I said, you can't tell me what to do. Like, if I want to spend time with my family or friends, I'm going to spend time with my family or friends. If that's not something you can handle, then maybe this isn't for us. And he cursed me out and threatened me, threatened to punch me, slam my head against the wall, all types of things, really bad. He said I could go, like if I didn't want to talk to him, I could go and date other people and be with other people because I never loved him anyways, if I would easily give him up like that. So there were a lot of verbal threats, and it kind of went from 0 to 100. Like there was no warning. The threats just came. I guess because I was putting my foot down and he didn't like the talking back or like my tone. So that was the first time I felt unsafe. And then he left my house afterwards because when he started yelling, I became quiet because I don't like arguing back and forth. So he left my house and called me like 10 times and just kept explaining how, how in a relationship, we need to be open, we need to be transparent, and I need to ask permission or let him know when I'm going to be someplace. So that clicked in my mind like, whoa, something isn't right here. I would say that moment was, I'm very close with my family members and even very close with middle-aged people because I have an older soul. So when I would tell my coworkers and my family members about their relationship and about him, they would always make comments like, I don't want to read about you in the newspaper. I don't want to see you on the news. So that kind of signaled to me that it was a very dangerous situation. I need to get out. And it was mostly verbal abuse. He only hit me once. So the majority of it was just, attacks and possessiveness and controlling. And at one point, he even told me that he was my God, because I'm very involved in the church and things like that. And he was just like all the way up here. So I developed the exit plan when he kept saying that he wanted to start a family and have children, which was all lies. I don't believe any of that. But he kept saying he wanted to start a family and have children, and it became to the point where I was miserable because I couldn't go anywhere. If I was at work and I wasn't answering my phone, he would leave me voicemails cursing me out, saying how he knows I'm with another man and how I'm this and that. He would call me early in the morning. If I didn't answer the phone, he would curse me out. So it just became too much for me mentally and physically. And I said, I can't do this anymore. I have to stop talking to him because it's constant arguments and aggressions. And it got to the point where it would be in my dreams. I started having dreams about him. I started going home and thinking he would be in front of the house waiting for me. I started thinking he would be in front of my job. Like, it just became too much. And I was like, you know what? You have to leave him alone. So the internal why for why I had to leave was just my self-worth and my self-respect, and knowing, truthfully speaking, that I probably wasn't the only woman that he was talking to. He probably had a multitude of women. I'm sure he did have a multitude of women. And just knowing my self-respect and realizing that I deserved more. And I was never the type of person to sort of settle or let people control me. So it was like, why now? Why with this person? Why would I allow that? And then also realizing that if he wanted to, he really could seriously harm me with no second thought. It could just be us having a conversation and out of nowhere, he could just explode. So that was always in the back of my mind too, how violent he could become, because it was almost like a little mouse around him, scared to say no or scared to say the wrong thing. And how do you know what the wrong thing is if he's so unpredictable? So yeah, it was sort of my safety, my self-respect, my self-worth. Through the summer of 2020, I experienced a lot of growth and evolution, spiritually, mentally, in my career, all these different avenues in my life. And I realized that what I had done with that relationship for a long time was I kind of tucked it away. And I don't want to say I acted like it didn't happen, but I didn't address it. I didn't talk about it. I didn't bring it up. So I always had this huge piece of me that I acted like wasn't happening. And after him, I had got engaged and the engagement was broken off. And I think I only had like one other serious relationship after that. But I realized there was just this strong mistrust of men. And my mind would always go to, what if they're abusive? Almost every single man I dated, my mind will automatically go to that, you know? And I felt like I couldn't be vocal with certain men or speak to them face to face or have a disagreement with them for fear of how they would react. So summer of 2020, I realized that no longer had a hold of me, or it no longer controlled me, meaning with full transparency, I could speak out against narcissists and abusive men and womanizers and men who just use women, you know, and I could speak against them to their face. And there was a time where I didn't do that. I was just very nonchalant and avoidant. I actually started being more vocal with it. And when I'm healing from something, I'm able to speak on it more in the hopes of helping other people heal. So I started to find myself sharing bits and pieces of my story with other women who were also recovering from abuse. And that's how I knew I was healing, and how I needed to keep sharing it to sort of get all the remnants out. Because sometimes it lingers, you know? So yeah, summer 2020. I haven't had a nightmare in a while. There was a time where I would have nightmares at least, you know, once a week. There were times where I would go home and I would think he would be there, you know, throughout the month. There were times where I would hear him cursing me out, and I haven't heard that recently. So this is definitely a new chapter, and he's way in the past. I feel like there's a lot of women who are hurting, who are trying to heal, and they don't know how to heal. They're constantly being shamed, they're constantly being guilted. There's not that many safe havens. So I feel like I have to be a part of the people who say it's okay, share your story. We're here for you. We're here for you, you know? And collectively, we can all heal. Because not talking about it does not help. It doesn't help us. And I feel like we have to be more vocal, because then that takes away the power from them. People are actually speaking out against them. Someone watching this who is currently in a position and they're wanting to leave, I would say leave as soon as you can. I know it may seem very scary, especially, you know, financially, if you guys are linked different ways, but almost every county has like a safe haven program for domestic violence. Find your program. If you have a family member that you trust, reach out to that family. Don't stay in hopes that it will get better, because it gets worse. In all most sincerity, it gets worse. I don't care how charming they are. I don't care how much acts of service they do for you. I don't care how much they say that they love you. Each episode, they will get more and more violent. So leave as soon as you can. To anyone who has recently left and is looking to rebuild, understand that you can heal. Keep your head up to the sky. May God be your source, you know, because it does take a serious amount of spiritual strength for you to rebuild and pick up the pieces. So may God be your strength, remain faithful, and keep moving forward. Sometimes they get so deep into your mind that they make you feel like you need them in order to survive, and that's not true. They do that to try and keep hold of you because you're an object to them. Continue to rebuild. Continue to find your strength, and continue to find your independence. You know, there's people around who, if you reach out and say, I need help, they'll be willing to help you. So